The stellar horizon hummed with the quiet efficiency of a well-oiled machine as it drifted through the Andromeda sector. Ilara checked her datapad one last time before her shift ended, her fingers dancing across the holographic interface with practiced ease. As the ship's xenobiologist, she'd spent the last 8 hours cataloging samples from Theta 7, a jungle world teeming with life forms that defied conventional classification. "Long day?" Kalian asked, leaning against the doorframe of the laboratory. The security officer's uniform was pristine despite having just completed a 12-hour patrol. "The longest," Ilara replied, stretching her arms above her head. "I've identified 3 new species of bioluminescent fungi and what I'm pretty sure is a plant that can do basic arithmetic." Kalian raised an eyebrow. "A plant that can count? It responds to numerical patterns in light frequencies. I'll show you the data tomorrow." She logged off her station and grabbed her jacket. "Right now all I want is a hot shower in my bed. Can't argue with that." "Sleep well, Ilara." She waved as she left, her boots echoing against the metal corridors. The stellar horizon housed a crew of 47 beings from 12 different species, but the human quarters were in Section C, a deliberate design choice after the infamous climate control incident 3 years prior. Humans, it turned out, preferred temperatures that most species found either scalding or freezing. Ilara's quarters were modest but comfortable. A bed, a desk, a small bathroom, and enough storage for her personal effects. She kicked off her boots by the door, a habit she'd developed after tracking bioluminescent spores across her floor one too many times. The heavy combat boots landed with a satisfying thunk against the wall. After a shower that lasted longer than regulation probably allowed, Ilara collapsed into bed. The ship's artificial night cycle had already dimmed the corridor lights, and her room was dark save for the faint glow of her alarm clock. Sleep came quickly. Morning arrived with the gentle chime of her alarm. Ilara groaned, silencing it with a blind swat of her hand. She had exactly 30 minutes before the senior staff meeting, enough time for coffee and a quick review of yesterday's findings. She shuffled toward her boots, still foggy with sleep. The left one went on easily enough, but when she reached for the right boot, something felt off. It was heavier than it should be. Ilara lifted the boot and peered inside. 2 luminous amber eyes stared back at her. "Holy!" She nearly dropped the boot, catching herself at the last second. Inside, curled into an impossibly tight ball, was a creature no bigger than her fist. Its fur was midnight black with streaks of iridescent blue that caught the light like oil on water. 6 legs were tucked beneath a sleek body, and a tail with a forked tip was wrapped around its face. The creature yawned, revealing rows of needle-sharp teeth, then blinked up at her with what could only be described as innocent curiosity. "How did you get in here?" Ilara whispered, carefully setting the boot down. Her mind raced through possibilities. The ship's biocontainment protocols were strict. Nothing should have escaped the laboratory, let alone made it to her quarters. The creature chirped, a sound like crystal bells, and attempted to climb out of the boot. Its movements were uncoordinated, almost clumsy as it tumbled onto the floor and shook itself. Ilara grabbed her datapad and activated the scanner. The results made her blood run cold. Species: Felix mortalis variant. Classification: Apex predator. Threat level: extreme age, juvenile, approximately 6 weeks, a Felix mortalis. She'd read about them in the xenobiology archives. Adult specimens could grow to the size of a small shuttle, with claws that could shred reinforced hull plating, and venom that could paralyze prey 50 times their size. They were native to Theta 7's deepest jungles, and were considered one of the most dangerous predators in known space, and one had just spent the night sleeping in her boot. The cub, because that's clearly what it was, padded across her floor on oversized paws, investigating everything with intense focus. It sniffed her desk leg, batted at a dropped stylus, then turned its attention back to Ilara. It chirped again and sat down, tail swishing expectantly. "You're not attacking me," Ilara observed, more to herself than to the creature. According to the data, even juvenile Felix mortalis were aggressive hunters. This one seemed more interested in playing than predation. A thought occurred to her. She pulled up the environmental data from yesterday's sample collection. They'd been in the lowland regions of Theta 7, areas where temperatures averaged around 15 degrees Celsius. Her quarters, set to human comfort levels, were currently at 22 degrees. The Cub had been cold. It had somehow escaped from the cargo bay, wandered through the ship's corridors and found the warmest, darkest place it could, inside a boot that still held residual heat from a day's wear. Ilara's communicator buzzed. Kalian's face appeared on the screen. Morning briefing in 10 minutes. You coming? She glanced at the Cub, which had now discovered the fascinating wonder of its own tail and was chasing it in circles. Kalian, I need you to come to my quarters quietly, and maybe bring a containment unit. His expression shifted from friendly to alert in an instant. Are you in danger? Not exactly, just trust me on this. 5 minutes later, Kalian stood in her doorway, staring at the apex predator cub that was now trying to climb into Ilara's laundry basket. That's a Felix mortalis, he said slowly. Juvenile, Ilara confirmed. And before you reach for your weapon, watch this. She picked up a protein bar from her desk and unwrapped it. The cub's head snapped toward the sound, eyes fixated on the food. She broke off a piece and tossed it. The creature caught it mid-air, then settled down to eat with the focused intensity of a starving kitten. It's imprinted on you, Kalian realized. It must have hatched recently, maybe even on the ship. You were the first warm thing it found? Ilara nodded. The pieces were falling into place. The eggs collected from Theta 7 weren't supposed to be viable in the ship's environment. But life, as she'd learned, always found a way. We need to notify the captain, Kalian said, but his hand had moved away from his weapon. We do, Ilara agreed, watching as the cub finished its meal and padded back to her boot, circling 3 times before settling back inside. But first, I think someone needs to understand that this ship has very specific regulations about keeping pets. The cub chirped contentedly from inside the boot. Already half asleep again. Kalian allowed himself a small smile. This is going to be one hell of a report. As Ilara carefully lifted the boot, cub and all, she couldn't help but agree. In a galaxy full of wonders and terrors, sometimes the most dangerous predator just needed a warm place to sleep and someone willing to show a little compassion. Very human traits indeed.